right now,
time.
yeah.
Isn't it frustrating? You're working with a buyer, they find a place they love, and well, unfortunately, like a half a dozen other people love it too.
Right.
And you're up against competition all of a sudden to get your offer noticed, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And you're running into that. I run into that too. Tell me some of the tricks of the trade that people are waiting to hear. How do I get my offer noticed?
Well, Patty, are you going to tell them about your recent story? I
Not
put my
sure what
wife
you
on the
mean.
spot.
Not sure what you mean.
Yeah,
Go
which
ahead.
which recent story?
The one where you wrote the letter, had them write a letter, and also offered occupancy as a big. It's important if you give them free occupancy to sweeten the deal.
Let's talk about occupancy real quick, just in case you're not familiar with the concept there, Dreamer. You're buying somebody's house, but they're still living in it after the closing. So in fact, they're occupying your house. They're living in your house at that point. And the tradition, of course, is people pay rent now to the new buyer, the new owner.
Right.
And we put it on the contracts, real shorthand, PITI, right? The payment is figured out for the rent. Each day you're in that house will be 1/30th, usually, traditionally, of the buyer's new mortgage payment.
Right.
Correct. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance
There it
divided
is.
by 30.
There it
Yeah,
is.
nice.
There it is. PITI. We put it because it's shorthand. Jamie's seen it 100 times 1,000 times on a contract. But you've got a trick to the trade here. What do you tell them, Patty?
So we just give the sellers that time free.
There you go.
So maybe it's an extra $1,000 depending on the price of the house that they don't have to worry about. So it adds that value to our offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they like that.
Of course they do. I mean, who wants to rent the home they've been living in for the last 10 years, right?
And especially if they don't have a home yet. It's a stressful time selling a house.
Yeah.
Because so many sellers, right? You could probably run into this, Jamie, where the seller has got to accept that offer because they need to get their house sold, but they haven't got the next spot lined up yet.
See it every day. Yep,
Yeah.
every day.
And it's kind of a balancing act, and it's happened to me in my lifetime where I've been in that boat. And so taking some stress out of that for that seller, that's a great way for a buyer to get their offer noticed.
Yep.
Hey, tricks of the trade here on
Right.
Michigan Real Talk with the McCarty team. What else you got to get your offer noticed?
One thing I want to say is when you said about Jamie, the number team you're as good as your mortgage rep as well.
Yeah.
If you've got
Yeah.
a mortgage rep that's done all their homework, this person is a real pre-approval. Back in the old days, they weren't really approved. They had a piece of paper based on what they told us today. Now they have a
Right.
real approval.
Right.
They've done everything. It's really almost as good as close as you can come to cash as there is.
Yeah.
It's true.
And so you'll pick up the phone and give a call to that listing agent, the seller's agent, right, Jamie?
Right. You got to reach out and say, hey, this buyer's been not only pre-qualified, but they've proofed up with their income and their assets. They are a truly qualified buyer. So you should strongly consider that offer because it's basically like looking at a cash offer.
Yeah. That makes a big difference when you're working with professionals who are proactive on the job, helping your buyer get noticed by that seller. Also, one thing we've done in the past, in fact, we did it on our house. Remember, Tina? The extra big
EMD.
earnest money deposit, right? In a transaction, you put earnest money down as a buyer, right? You let people know you're earnest. That's an old-fashioned word that means you're for real. And so you put a little skin in the game there so they know you're not just going to back out last second. What'd you tell me about that earnest money?
Well, it used to be when I first started, it was 3 to 5%.
Okay.
We were required to get that, and now it's gone down to maybe $1,000. But if we can get it back up, which I try to do, it just shows, like you said, more serious buyer.
Yeah. And sellers love to see that there's some real money sitting in the pot already. These guys are not just going to throw $1,000 check on the table and say, and then disappear. Well, working with professionals matter, Dreamer. The McCarty team with Century 21, Jamie Nummer, Van Dyke Mortgage. Jamie, you're going to stick into the next segment with us and talk some more, right? Invite Sarah in. You're listening to Michigan Real Talk. It's powerful radio for powerful living.